This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
I heard you've been looking for me, but you look for trouble. You're gonna see that your words are dangerous. Your talk is cheap. So now I'm standing here. You tell yourself you know what to do when you realize that I am coming for you. Then you'll change your mind and run like a child when you see me standing here. Now I'm standing here. Don't question my heart. Don't question the fire that burns inside.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another edition of Extreme Resurrection here on the PTB Wrestling feed. I am Steve Riddle, and alongside with me as usual is my co-host James Gruenberg. Gruney, how are you?
I'm doing well, Steve. It's great to be back here for ECW on Sci-Fi, and looks like we're going in a new direction here.
Yes, indeed, we are going in a new direction. I think a lot of people would say that 2008 is definitely a year sees a lot of change for ECW, and as the same, we're doing it here as well because, as most everyone knows, when this podcast launched originally with you and Mike Cook, you've always been kind of the at the helm, basically, kind of talking about the episodes. But now we're kind of mixing it up a little bit. Now I'm going to be at the helm, which. Mm-hmm. I am excited about because, like I said, 2008 is going to be a very unique year for ECW with, like we said, a lot of change coming.
And it is, and I think this is a great turning point for who is ECW champion as well. When we get into that as well too. I'll give my thoughts about that.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about that. So we are, of course, talking our first episode here, April 1st, 2008, from the American Airlines Arena in Miami, Florida. We are 2 days removed from WrestleMania 24, and as was teased, we do have a new ECW champion, and it is indeed the Big Red Machine, Kane. He would win the pre-show Battle Royal to earn the title shot, and then on the main show proper, he would proceed to absolutely curb stomp Chavo Guerrero in a WrestleMania record 8 seconds to become the ECW champion, which kind of funny that, and we'll just go ahead and say it now, this is the only time the ECW title is defended at WrestleMania, and it ends up being an 8-second squash. So what did you think, Gruney, of the decision to have Kane win the Battle Royal and then end up going on to win the title?
Okay, so this WrestleMania is like a top fiver for me as well. The card, like from top to bottom, minus a few matches or maybe just like one match, it was great. I mean, you had the career versus streak with Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair, the triple threat match where John Cena came back from the Royal Rumble, and that's how we got Orton, Triple H, and John Cena for the WWE title. You had Floyd Mayweather versus The Big Show, and then you had The Undertaker versus Edge for the World Heavyweight title, and a whole lot more. But Kane winning, I think it's going to be a great it's going to be interesting, and Kane's a great pick. And I always say now that Babyface has the ECW title, there are more heels to come after Kane for this title than there were babyfaces when Chavo Guerrero was champion, Steve.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We'll talk about that as we go along here. And that wasn't the only big thing for ECW because also at WrestleMania, CM Punk would become Mr. Money in the Bank as he would win the ladder match, defeating Shelton Benjamin, John Morrison, Carlito, Mr. Kennedy, MVP, and Chris Jericho to earn the briefcase. So now kind of interesting development there with Punk now Mr. Money in the Bank. You have to wonder now if he's going to just cash in on the ECW title, or if this possibly is the beginning of something bigger for him to be moved on to one of the other two brands.
Yeah, originally, Steve, I think it was going to be Jeff Hardy's time to have the Money in the Bank if he didn't get in trouble for his drug violation here too. But CM Punk was a great choice. Always, you would think with how many times he's been in the Money in the Bank matches since WrestleMania 21, where it started, the inaugural one, Shelton Benjamin. You would think he would finally win one of these.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to see if Jeff had been in the match and had won, where Punk would have gone from here, in terms of like his trajectory. But we'll obviously, like I said, we'll talk about what else as we go on here. So we open our episode here with a recap of WrestleMania, of course, specifically of Kane winning the Battle Royal and then winning the title, and then we cut right. We cold open right into the show as Kane comes out, gets a pretty good pop from the crowd. He says that at WrestleMania he had the satisfaction of unleashing his destruction on the 23 other men to win that Battle Royal and earn the title match. And then, of course, when he faced Chavo, he decimated him in a mere 8 seconds to become the new champion. He goes on about how ECW has had some the most brutal moments in sports entertainment, but says now that he's champion, you haven't seen nothing yet. He's then interrupted by CM Punk, who comes down with the briefcase. And I do like how I think it was started with RVD, how whoever wins the briefcase has like their logo on the briefcase, which I think is a nice touch. Add a little bit of personal flair to it. Kane says that Punk had a good day on Sunday as well, but he says if he's there to do what he thinks he is, he won't have a good night. Punk says that's not what he's here for. He just says he's happy he won the ladder match, though he is a bit jealous. He says that he does have a guaranteed contract for a title match, though Kane ended up winning a title, but he does remind him that he can cash the contract at any time for the next year, and says that he could do it right now if Kane presses him. But then Chavo comes out on the stage. He interrupts the proceedings, says that no one is getting a title shot before him. Even goes as far as to call Kane's victory a fluke. And Kane reminds him that he won in 8 seconds, which Punk says that Chavo made history, losing the ECW title in record time at WrestleMania. Chavo tries to defend himself, saying that he had to prepare for 24 different opponents, and that Kane also had to attack him from behind because he can't beat him face to face. He says he promises that he'll be ready for Kane next time, and everyone will be proud to call him champion again. He says tonight, though, he spoke to Armando Estrada and says that he has a match for Kane and Punk as they will team up against himself and a man who has unfinished business as well from Sunday, that being Shelton Benjamin, who comes out next to Chavo, says that that the only reason Punk won the briefcase was because 2 other men in that match made him fall off the ladder and go through a ladder at ringside, which was, I think, definitely the spot of that match. He says that a normal man would be in the hospital, but he is not a normal man, and Punk will find out why he is the gold standard. And Punk says he looks forward to finding that out because he says that there's a nickname Shelton cannot call himself, and that's Mr. Money in the Bank. So pretty good stuff here to open up. We got, Kane, talking about being champion, Punk reminding him about the briefcase, and now setting up for what looks to be a pretty good little tag main event here for tonight.
Yeah, Steve, a lot coming from Kane, and I do think he will bring excitement on ECW going forward because he is the ECW champion. And this is where I was saying there are a lot more heels on ECW than there are baby faces, but I did like CM Punk coming out with the briefcase too, like just to show, oh, you never know, I might just cash in on you. And then that spot where Shelton Benjamin fell off the ladder after it was Carlito and MVP tipped it over, and you see Carlito's jaw just like, what did we do? That spot was vicious, and I watched it. Like I said, I watched it with all my friends. Are like, that was insane. Chavo playing a scared heel, like just trying to get the heat back. Oh, I had to prepare for 23 other opponents and besides you, and you had to attack me from behind. It's heat. So, yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, Chavo trying to play up that Kane's win was a fluke. Yeah, and one other note to quickly mention about that Money in the Bank match, of course, the other highlight from it was the return of Matt Hardy, who had been on the shelf with a couple of injuries. He came out and cost MVP the match. So So it looks like that because Matt and MVP had obviously throughout 07 had their little feud and mini team going on, so that's going to continue on now that Matt's back. Which I'm sure you thought. I'm sure you've enjoyed that moment too, Matt returning.
Oh yeah, I did when he flipped over the MVP on the ladder as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, so then we come back from break. We got our first match of the night, which is Stevie Richards versus Mike Knox. This continuing issue here. We see highlights from a couple weeks ago where Knox attacked Richards backstage, and then we get the week later where Richards returned the favor. And then, of course, as we know, the previous week they faced each other in a mixed tag with Knox getting the win. So this feud still raging on here. Richards is pretty much he gets a tepid response here. I mean, that's pretty much he's cooked at this point, really not going anywhere. Quick lockup here. Richards trying to out wrestle him, but then Knox rams him into the corner. But then Richards actually catches him with a really nice enziguri, kind of caught him stiff there. Knox goes to the outside. Richards tries to come off the apron, but Knox catches him with a back elbow and throws him back in. Beats on him, hits a delayed suplex, and then Knox rakes his boot across the eyes. Hooks on a bear hug that Richards fights out of, but then Knox gets a kick in. Knox gets him in another bear hug as Taz compares it to Ivan Koloff's bear hug, which might be pushing that a little bit. Richards again tries to fight out and eventually bites Knox's face to escape. Knox ducks a shot, hits a nice back suplex before going up to the middle rope, but he misses a leg drop. Richards tries to fire up with an atomic drop and then kicks in Knox repeatedly and then gets a 2 count. Gets some really stiff kicks into his back. I mean, you can hear the smack of the flesh there. But Knox reverses a whip into the corner, then catches him with a back elbow. Richards catches him with a back elbow, I should say. Knox catches a kick attempt and then hits a really sloppy backbreaker. Like, I don't know if he was trying to go for like a power bomb, but just like Richards kind of came off his knee, but it looks really nasty. Then he hits his little corkscrew face buster there to get the win. 3:54 in the match time. I gave it a star. It was decent enough, pretty much a semi-squash. Richards did get a couple shots in, but hopefully this finally puts this feud to bed. We talk about guys that could be, good heel challengers for Kane. Knox is a perfect candidate here. He's a big guy, can match Kane in power, and he's just a guy that just seems to be floating aimlessly. Hopefully, this, like I said, the feud with Richards is past him now, and he can move on to potentially, build some momentum and potentially be a future contender for Kane.
I give this matchup a star and a quarter. Hard elbow shot by Knox, hard kicks by Stevie. Knox always looks like he wants to really hurt you when he does that face buster. It looked like he really hurt Stevie there, and to me, Knox looks like your creative wrestler bully villain, like he looks like he's straight out of a movie or like a TV special bully. Like, give me your lunch money.
Yeah, we'll just wait till later in the year when he takes that to like another level. So,
boy.
Yeah. We then get a recap of the 2008 Hall of Fame ceremony, which this was a pretty, I think 2008 is kind of a underrated class here. So the Hall of Famers for 2008, it was Gordon Soley, Eddie Graham, the Briscoes, Jack and Jerry, Mae Young, Rocky Johnson, Peter Maivia, and Ric Flair. And of course, Flair was the first active wrestler to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And of course, one of the big selling points for the ceremony itself was The Rock coming back after being gone for a little bit to induct his father and grandfather into the Hall of Fame. So, Gruney, did you have any kind of memories about this Hall of Fame class?
Besides Flair's speech, which made everybody cry, because again, it was like building up to the career versus like the career-ending match here for Flairs. We'll get into it as well. The Briscoe brothers and Mae Young, that was a pretty good class too. Again, The Rock coming back, saying that line to John Cena, they torture people by making them watch The Marine. And you just saw the gasp too. Even like he had a line for like Chris Jericho and everybody, and like Big Show's just laughing like right in front of Jericho's face.
Yeah, but then of course Rock, made fun of himself when he was like, "Well, don't feel bad. I made Doom." So,
Uh,
so again, playing, getting a little digging on himself there.
but a very good class, though.
Yeah, it was very Florida heavy. I mean, with Graham and Soley, the Briscoes, who are very synonymous with that area. So yeah, good little class there.
Mhm.
After commercial break, we then get a shot outside the American Airlines Arena, as Joey mentions about WrestleMania 25 being in Texas, and he makes a joke about getting Taz on a horse, which that would be an interesting sight to see. Speaking of Taz, he's in the ring with our good friend Colin Delaney. He brings up about Colin being at WrestleMania, but Colin saying is like, well, at least I didn't get beat up, but that's because I didn't have a match. He says he hopes to be at WrestleMania next year as a contracted superstar. At that point, GM Armando Estrada comes out on the stage and says that he has good news for Delaney. He says that Colin has suppressed him over the last couple of weeks, and he's seen how bad Delaney wants to be a superstar. And he says that he wants to offer Delaney his first official contract, which he says he's earned. Of course, Delaney gets all excited. The crowd actually pops because they're thinking this is finally going to get paid out. But then he says he forgot to mention one thing, which is April Fools, because obviously this show is on April 1st. So, of course, Delaney gets, the sad dog eyes, and of course the crowd's pissed. But Estrada says, don't worry, though, you can earn an opportunity to get a contract here if you can beat your opponent tonight, which is The Big Show. So the double whammy there for Colin. He gets faked out for his contract, and now he's got to face another giant, basically bringing back memories of earlier in the year when he was getting decimated week after week. Big Show, obviously, they talk about his humiliating loss at WrestleMania to Floyd Mayweather, and they also bring up the night before the stare down he had with the Great Khali. So looks like Show's getting something, something set up there on the main roster. Delaney tries to walk away a few times, but Show constantly stops him. And then at one point grabs him by the shoulder and then quickly hooks on the Cobra Clutch as Delaney passes out instantly. And Big Show wins in 45 seconds. And then he just throws Delaney to the side, and Delaney does like a great spin on the mat, like he was a fidget spinner. So I didn't rate the match. Short matches like that are kind of tough grade. It's just another example of Delaney again getting screwed over by Estrada, and kind of puts some more heat on Big Show as he kind of comes off that loss to Mayweather.
Yeah, I gave it a dud, but again, like you said, it's not really a match. I felt like it was just more of like an in-ring segment of like, oh, welcome to the big leagues, rookie. And he's not even a rookie because he doesn't have a contract. So this is just Armando Estrada toying with Colin Delaney here. I love the pop. He's like jumping. He's like, I really have a contract. And then when you hear the April Fools, his jaw's like, oh, like really? Like you said, sad puppy dog. Like, I just lost my dog again.
Yeah. And then what'd you think of Show's beatdown here?
That was really nothing. I mean, you don't even beat him with a choke slam, dude. Like, you just Cobra Clutch him. It's sort of, it's not weird, but it's like, that's not even in your move set, the Cobra Clutch. Just a submission move.
Yeah, or if he does it, it's the thing like where he hooks it on, but then he like drops the guy on his knee before like throwing them in the air. So yeah, just really weird. All right, well, then we get another commercial break, and then we come back and we get highlights of the aforementioned Shawn Michaels Ric Flair match, where Flair lost the match to Shawn and was forced to retire. We then get highlights from the night before on Raw, the big Ric Flair retirement ceremony, as he addresses the crowd, and then Triple H comes out to kind of show his love, and then we get this big parade of I mean, this was a great collection of like legends and the current superstars, and it was just and Flair's family, and it was just such an amazing moment in Raw history. Just a great send off for Ric Flair. Of course, we know that Flair would not, would come back to the ring after this multiple times. So it unfortunately ended up being for moot. But at that moment, it was just a fitting retirement ceremony for a guy that had the career that Ric Flair did. I am sure you agree with that.
I do. I remember I cried actually when I cried with Ric Flair because I thought it was like so happy heartbreaking. It was like he's done, like it's over, and you knew it was coming. I was like, there's no way Ric Flair. There might have been a way that Ric Flair was going to win, but it's like, yeah, I think Ric Flair's going to retire after he just gets inducted into the Hall of Fame the night before. But the best part about that was the Four Horsemen coming out to the Four Horsemen theme, and them too. Again, if I always wondered, Steve, what would have happened if Benoit didn't do what he did, and him being an honorary, like, well, he is a Four Horsemen member, just like Dean Malenko was as well, Steve.
Yeah, that would have been. I'm sure he would have been involved in some way.
I know.
And then, of course, as everyone knows, the after the show went off the air, they continued the ceremony afterwards because that's when they had the Undertaker and Vince McMahon come out to kind of pay their respects to Flair, and then they just kind of went off and then just went with like the superstars on the ramp doing like the partying of the sea to let Flair and his family go through the back, and they're like all giving them like doing the bow, and he's shaking hands with different people, and it was a great moment. Just sullied by the fact that he would return to action like not even a year later. So just unfortunate. All right. Well, then we go to we get another commercial break, and now we go right into our main event. So not wasting any time here. Of course, our big tag team match here: CM Punk and Kane taking on Chavo Guerrero and Shelton Benjamin. Punk and Benjamin start off as Benjamin rams Punk into the corner and beats on him until Punk trips him up, and they continue to brawl. And then Punk hits a snap suplex for 2 as he tags Kane. Kane beats on Benjamin a bit with a snap mare and a little drop kick, but then Benjamin gets a drop kick to the knee and tags Chavo, who tries to get some kicks in and then beats on him in the corner, but Kane pretty much no-sells it. He grabs Chavo, throws him in the corner, but then Chavo catches him with a boot to the face and quickly tags Benjamin. Benjamin beats on Kane, who blocks the whip and sends Benjamin over the top of the floor in a nice little spot there. Chavo then charges at him, but then Kane backdrops for the top. And I think Chavo was supposed to hang on and land on the apron. He lost his grip on the top rope and did land on the floor. But he quickly gets back on the apron, only for Punk to kick him off to the floor. As that takes us to a commercial. When we come back, Kane continues to be on Benjamin before tagging Punk. Punk gets goes a couple kicks in a snap mare and then hits a drop kick to the back of Benjamin's head, which looked really nasty. Benjamin catches him with a kick and hits a clothesline before tagging Chavo. So we got Chavo and Punk going at it once again. Punk catches Chavo on a really nice tilt-a-whirl backbreaker for 2, but Chavo ends up gets a jawbreaker in and gets control. Punk tries, gets Chavo on his shoulders, but Chavo holds onto the ropes, and then Benjamin comes in and kicks Punk right in the head. Again, a really, just nasty sound from that. Then he tags in. He goes for a couple of submissions as he continues to beat on Punk. Chavo and Benjamin kind of go back and forth, beating down on Punk, who keeps trying to fight back, but they keep wearing him down. At one point, Benjamin goes for a slam, but Punk falls on top of him for 2, and then he counters a suplex with a small package for 2, and then Benjamin yanks him to the mat by his hair before tagging Chavo. They continue to keep the pressure on with some various submissions. Eventually, Punk's able to escape a suplex attempt, shoves Chavo in the corner, and then hits the running knee into the Bulldog, which I thought was a nice little sequence there. Hot tag to Kane as he fires up on Benjamin, hits a slam and a leg drop, continues to beat on him, and then whips him into the corner, splashing him. Benjamin catches him with a back elbow, but then Kane grabs him by the throat, hits a big boot to Chavo, but Benjamin is able to escape the choke slam and actually hits a big boot of his own on Kane, but Kane no-sells and then hits his own big boot. Kane goes up top, but Chavo crotches him on the top rope, but Kane falls to the mat. Punk tags himself in, goes for a springboard clothesline, but Benjamin avoids it. But then Punk hits his little side drop kick there before getting Benjamin on the shoulders and hits the GTS to get the win. Afterwards, Chavo tries to get a cheap shot at him, but Kane scares him outside, and he and Punk stand tall while Chavo kind of stews on the ramp as we go off the air here. 15-17, the match time. Great amount. These guys got a lot of time, and I like the match. I went 3 stars. I thought it was a nice little tag main event here. I thought all 4 guys worked really well together. One thing I've always noticed, and we'll see this throughout this year, that anytime you put Kane with like somebody smaller than him, he always seems to get some crazy chemistry with them. I mean, we saw it with him in X-Pac, we saw it with him in RVD. We'll see it down the line with him and Daniel Bryan, and he and Punk here actually work really good together as a team, and they'll kind of expound on that a little bit later, throughout as we go through the spring. But yeah, I thought this was again a good little tag match to give Punk and Kane the win. Chavo obviously doesn't take the loss. It's Benjamin that kind of eats the pin, but obviously that puts any thing between him and Punk down. So, but a good little tag match there to close things out. Gruney.
I gave it 2 3/4. It was good. I like the back and forth banter between both teams. I thought Kane hit a nice drop kick to Shelton, and I thought the finish was great. The smart move by Punk, tagging himself in to be the fresh man, and then he hits the GTS, and then as Punk is pitting, Chavo's like, "Oh, I can save him," and then Kane just scares him off, like you said. So I thought it was a very good tag team matchup. We see a lot of athleticism from Shelton Benjamin. He can hang with the big guys too. Also, Steve, don't forget the short-lived Kane and Hurricane tag team as well.
That's right. Yeah, very very short-lived, as you said. But yeah, like I said, just for whatever reason, Kane and these small guys always seem to have really good chemistry and play off that big man, little man formula very well. So, but overall, a good episode, a decent, good little episode of ECW here coming off of WrestleMania. Usually the Raw, SmackDown, and ECW after WrestleManias could be, have their own big moments here. But obviously, the thing that's remembered from that week is obviously the Ric Flair retirement.
Yeah, I thought that this episode went really quick as well, especially with the Colin Delaney segment. You're like, well, it might not last that long, but it felt like we were just right at the main event too, and not a hard. Well, you could say it was a hard reset, but again, because everybody was focusing on the Ric Flair retirement, and it felt like a little bit of it felt like a hard reset for ECW. It's like we have no Kelly and Layla, but again, a very good main event between those before superstars Chavo, Shelton, Kane, and CM Punk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, almost kind of like you thinking those were the 4 guys they're going to put like the most focus on going forward. Obviously, we'll see what happens with that, but I mean, wouldn't have been wouldn't have been the worst thing. I mean, those are 4 good guys to do so.
Yeah, I still feel that like you got to do something else with Chavo.
Yeah, well, hopefully once this once this feud with Kane's over, then they'll probably de-push him a bit. Because the whole La Familia storyline is still going on at this point. So, all right, well, we'll move on now to our second episode a week later, April 8th, 2008, from the TD Bank North Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. We get our opening, video here, and this has been updated now with Kane as the champion, as they usually do like to do. Joey and Taz hype it up, and we will get the contract signing between Kane and Chavo for the rematch at Backlash, because it was actually announced that previous SmackDown from Vicky Guerrero that both Edge and Chavo would get their rematches against The Undertaker and Kane at Backlash. So again, like we said, continuing that feud there.
Yeah, so like Chavo definitely does deserve the rematch again. Try to get him out if he doesn't win the ECW title and move on. But again, Chavo was the former champion, so he deserves the first rematch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does. We waste no time going into our opening match here as we get Mr. Money in the Bank, CM Punk, out here. He's going one-on-one with one half of our tag team champions, The Miz. Kind of a good little, revitalizing here of this feud. John Morrison joins in on commentary, and he has some kind of interesting lines throughout his time there. Putting over himself and Miz and that sort of thing. Just really hyping himself up. I thought he was pretty entertaining here. Lock up to start as Punk backs Miz in the ropes, and Miz kind of stalls as they break. Kind of back and forth between the two as they each jockey for position. Punk at one point gets a roll up for 2, continues to wear down Miz. At one point, he hits a drop toe hold and slams down on Miz's knee 3 times. He kicks at the knee repeatedly, but then Miz trips him up and actually slingshots him over the top of the floor. Punk getting, taking a nice bump there. He gets on the apron, but he gets distracted by Morrison as Miz knocks him off the apron to the announce table, and it looked like Punk really hit hard because you can hear the smack of the table when Punk goes against it. Miz throws him back in the ring, starts to kind of beat him down a bit. Clothesline for 2. Punk tries to battle back with a couple of kicks, and then he hits his little side drop kick. Nice springboard clothesline to Miz as Morrison gets on the apron now. Punk kind of skids into the floor. Miz then hits a hooking clothesline on Punk for 2 and gets a submission on. And then the funny bit here is as Morrison goes to return the commentary, the ref tells him that he's gone, that he's been ejected, and Morrison gets all pissed. And I love how the ref's starting to argue with them. Then he turns away to get to do the pin attempt, and he turns around and says, "As I was saying, you're out of here. You're out of here." which I thought that was funny. But that takes us into the break. As we come back, Miz is still in control as he continues to beat down Punk, slamming the back of his head in the mat repeatedly. Chokes him in the ropes, leaps on his back. Leaps off his back to hotshot him on the middle rope, and Miz looking really impressive here. Wearing Punk down. Punk gets a roll up for 2. Miz hits a modified backbreaker, which again looked pretty nasty for 2. Punk again tries to fight back, and they do a crisscross and then clothesline each other. Punk starts to get fired up, hits a clothesline spin kick, but then Miz catches him with a boot to the face. Punk catches him with a really nice snap power slam for 2. Tries to go for his double underhook backbreaker, but Miz rams him into the corner. He then whips him to the other corner and does his little splash there where he lands on the middle rope. He then hits a slingshot twisty splash for 2, which I've never seen Miz do. I've never seen him do anything in terms of a slingshot or whatever. So I thought that was impressive. But then Punk ends up catching him in the head, hits the running knee and bulldog, and then into the GTS for the win. 14:30 your match time. So again, giving these guys a lot of time. I went 2.5. I thought it was a decent little outing here. Punk continues to get some momentum after coming off WrestleMania. And I'll say Miz has definitely been really impressing. If you think about where he is now compared to where he was a year ago, he's definitely grown. Tagging with Morrison has definitely been a plus because they do talk about on commentary heavily about their little web show, The Dirt Sheet, where they're both showing a lot of really good charisma, and you definitely see even though they're kind of stalling out a bit as tag team champions, that there's still potential there for the two of them to potentially be future. Again, we talk about heels challenging Kane. Morrison and Miz could also be in that discussion as well. Even though Miz does lay down here for Punk. So again, I thought it was a good little opening match here. Gives Punk some momentum, but Miz gets to show off a bit as well.
Yeah, I gave it 2.5. I thought that the Miz did very well working on the back and focusing on the back with Punk. And usually it's Punk versus Morrison, but now we're seeing the Miz. And I thought the Miz did very well for himself versus Punk instead of Morrison doing the heavy lifting. It's Miz here trying to get one up on Punk here. And nice kicks by Punk. The one kick where Miz does the flip, I was like, wow, that was a really good one too. Just swept him right off the feet, the sweep kick, and I was like, oh my gosh, it looked like he did it felt like he tripped over a banana peel or something and just fell backwards basically, because that was a really good kick. And again, yeah, a hard slam into the ring apron by Miz into Punk too. So I gave it 2. I gave it 2.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, just good stuff here by both these guys. So we go backstage where GM Armando Estrada is in his office as Colin Delaney and Tommy Dreamer come in. Delaney again asks about the possibility of getting a contract, and Estrada says, he asks how many times he's going to keep asking for one. And Dreamer says he's not asking. He's just wanting a chance to earn one. Estrada even asked the Dreamer Delaney's agent, which I thought was a nice little jab there. He does say that he'll give Delaney an opportunity to earn a contract tonight, but he's going up against Tommy Dreamer. So again, putting the screws to them, and then to put even more pressure, he tells Dreamer that if he loses or if he even goes easy on Delaney during the match, he will be fired himself. So basically, putting both men in this is in a no-win situation, as he says he has the head out because he has a contract signing to moderate. So again, kind of putting the screws to Delaney by forcing him now to face his friend Dreamer, and also kind of putting, like I said, putting pressure on Dreamer to basically not by forcing him to put his own career on the line in essence.
So this, I think, is where we're finally getting character development for Armando Estrada here as the ECW GM, because he's not always featured on camera in every on every ECW show. Again, it's only an hour show, but finally, I feel like this is where Estrada did like a lot of got a lot of airtime segments here, and I love how he put the screws and turned the tables on, Colin and Tom by saying, "Oh, you two are gonna fight each other. Oh, and Dreamer, if you go easy on him and he beats you, you're fired." I always feel like this segment kind of remind me of when Terry Funk in WCW in the year 2000, he's training Johnny the Bull, and then they finally have a match. And I actually think Johnny the Bull broke his leg during that match as well.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a bad spot there for Stamboli.
Yeah, but yeah, like I always said, it's like Terry Funk, the old horse training the new horse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do want to bring up real quick. We didn't see it on the episode, but I do want to mention it because it was listed here on our on historywwe.com. There was an ad for the for the April 21st Raw, which would be a 3-hour episode. And it was announced that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were invited to compete to settle their differences. Now, of course, 2008 was a election year, obviously, and that was the big thing that would Obama or Clinton be the Democratic nominee for president? I believe by that point, McCain had already been announced as the Republican nominee. So, interesting note there. Which, I mean, if you think about it, isn't that weird? Because I mean, you think back to like the late 90s, early 2000s when WWE was doing their the whole "Smackdown Your Vote" campaign to get young people out to register to vote. So, I mean, I'm sure nobody expected Clinton or Obama to show up, but as we saw, the previous year with them hyping up a potential Donald Trump Rosie O'Donnell match, and we all know what happened with that.
Oh yeah, that's where Umaga came out and killed her, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think they had like the Bill Clinton impersonator too, so that was pretty funny.
Yeah, they never made fun of Bush, during back in the 1998. If you watch, if you can find the Raws, Jerry Lawler's on the phone with Bill Clinton, or he says he is too. Like, oh, is Bill Clinton really calling Jerry Lawler now? Really, I remember one thing that they wanted during Bush's first run was that. When 9/11 happened, they did that Houston show that they were trying to get Bush Sr. to come and say something, and the Secret Service was like, "Are you out of your mind right now?"
I mean, that would have been interesting, but yeah, I think that was probably a case where the Secret Service is the right thing there.
Yes.
But of course, if you remember the in the mid '90s, they had the Clinton impersonator. If you remember, he was at WrestleMania 10, and then he was at the '95 Survivor Series. So, again, there's always the weird thing of WWE always dipping the toe into politics there. So
yeah.
All right, we take a break. We come back. Estrada is in the ring, ready for the contract signing. He brings first out Chavo Guerrero, who's out with Hawkins and Ryder, so he's got some backup. Estrada then brings out Kane. At one point, Chavo actually puts his feet on the table, and Kane just like shoves him right off, and you think a fight's going to happen, but Estrada tells them to have some decorum. He says that they both reviewed the contract earlier today, and that Kane asked the champion can sign first, which he does. Chavo asks if Kane really wants to do this because once he signs, he's signing away the ECW title, and Kane reminds him that Kane says that you're pretty cocky for someone who lost the title in 8 seconds at WrestleMania. Again, throwing that back at him. Chavo asks if he's talking about the same WrestleMania where Kane cheated and attacked him from behind, because he says that at Backlash he won't be able to do that as he will have someone in his corner watching his back as he motions for someone to come out. At that point, this guy in a suit comes down to the ring. At that point, chaos ensues as Hawkins, Ryder, and Chavo go after Kane. Kane fights him up, but then this unknown guy kicks at Kane's knee repeatedly, and then Chavo at one point throws the belt to him, and then he hits Kane in the face with the belt. They set the table up, put Kane on it as Chavo goes up top, and then he hits the frog splash on Kane, putting him through the table. And then he signs the contract, hands it back to Strada, and then celebrates with his crew here. So we do have a pretty big debut here to talk about. Now, we don't have a name for him yet, but I figured we'll talk at least a little bit about him for his where he was before. So his excuse me, his name is Justin Rochelot. I think that's how you pronounce the last name. But he trained in 2000 under Eddie Sharkey. Worked as a tag team in the Hellraisers along with his uncle, traveled the country, basically worked the independents, winning tag titles. 2007, he would sign with WWE, competed in OVW as Justin the Ox LaRoche, winning the Southern Tag titles with Charles Evans. They would then lose the titles to, of all people, the Major Brothers, aka Hawkins and Ryder, and then he would work there he would still compete there before making his, like I said, his TV debut here. Now, again, he does not have a name yet, but we will obviously find that out as we go down the line here. So, obviously, they had to do this because you got to give Chavo something because, I mean, one-on-one against Kane, he stands no chance. So now you're putting, some muscle with him. To kind of give him a little bit of a puncher's chance here.
Every small guy needs a big bodyguard. It goes back to Christian and Tyson Tomko, the problem solver. So I thought that this guy looked like a skinnier version of Roadkill, Amish Roadkill with the beard. And I was like, why didn't they just ask Roadkill to come back? I think Roadkill versus Kane could have been a great match.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Too bad, too bad we never got that. But I mean, it's again like you said, it's that trope of a smaller heel getting this like giant bodyguard. I mean, we go back to you brought up Christian and Tyson Taco, but you even go back to like Shawn and Diesel in the mid '90s. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll see how this we'll see where this goes. Obviously, because now. Like I said, Chavo needed to, get some heat on himself and look like he could, potentially beat Kane because, like I said, in a straight one-on-one match, Chavo really doesn't stand a chance. So you got to give him something to, get some heat on Kane.
I'd like to make 2 notes on this segment. I think Kane got cut by the belt because you see that he got busted open. So I think that was from the belt shot. And then because it was so close, Chavo really didn't extend his arms out for the full frog splash. He did like the Snuka arms out like with the hand motion for a splash as well, Steve.
Yeah, I did want to bring that up. Like you said, Kane slightly busted open. I thought it was from after he gets hit with the bell, he falls back and he kind of falls into the chairs with like one of the wheels like scraping against him. I thought that was how he got busted open, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but
yeah.
Either way. But from there we get another break, and then we go to our second match of the evening. That's between Nunzio and Elijah Burke. So. Another guy, Elijah Burke, who just seems he's like on complete cruise control, and I mean he even comes out like all like this like serious look, and he almost kind of has a look like I don't even want to be here at this point. Like he's completely checked out. Even Joey and Taz kind of make note of that he's not smiling like he usually would be. That he seems a lot more serious tonight. Some basic start between the two. Both guys trying to work the arm. Nunzio at one point gets an armbar in, but Burke escapes and then hits a really stiff clothesline. Then he hits a backdrop with Nunzio almost landing on his feet, which was an interesting would have been interesting if Nunzio had landed on his feet. Knee lift as Nunzio's draped on the apron, which looked really sick. As Nunzio tries to back, but Burke gets a kick in and then hits one of his nice uppercuts. He then chokes Nunzio on the ropes and then slams down on his back. And he does that thing like Mark Henry does, where he like slides off the guy's back to the outside. And Joey's like, how does he do that without hurting his neck or something? Which Mark Henry does a lot of the time. Why don't you just ask him? Nunzio tries to escape a submission, tries to battle back, hits a clothesline, but then Burke ducks a shot, hits a really nasty German suplex with Nunzio landing on the back of his head. Burke then pulls down his knee pads like he's going to go for the Elijah Express, but Nunzio's out of it. So Burke just kind of picks his limp body up and then hits the Elijah Experience for the win. 2:47 your match time. I give it a star. Pretty much a basic, again, a squash here. But again, what are we doing with Elijah Burke? Think about where we were a year ago, where he was, leading the new breed. He seemed like he was, on top of the world as the top heel in ECW. Now a year later, he's, I think he pretty much knows that he has one foot out the door at this point, and he's just kind of, just playing things out, and he knows he's not going to get anything after this, even with a face champion.
Yes, I gave it a star as well, and for both these guys, I didn't even know they were still on the roster. I thought Nunzio was gone. He might have been gone after this match, because after that German suplex, I think Burke was going to do the Elijah Express. He was like, "Oh, Nunzio's not getting up. I can't do that." Like, I think Nunzio really got knocked out and was like concussed because couldn't even do the right spot here, as you see. And I didn't even know Burke was still part of the roster. I thought we were done with him as well.
Yeah, well, I will just say, spoiler alert, our time with these two is coming to an end here. So it won't be much longer. So
yeah. I'm surprised Nunzio didn't retire after this matchup, just like Jamie Noble did when Sheamus kicked him into the next century.
Yeah, it might as well have at this point. So
Yeah.
Okay. We get a commercial, we get another break, and then we come back with our third match here, which, talk about random of all, like, this is like, somebody just did a random match generator and pulled this one out of the hat here. We have Kofi Kingston versus Domino. So Domino flying solo here, no Deuce with them. Kofi's pops are getting bigger. He gets a nice reaction here from the crowd as we get a little insert promo from him that he says that in Jamaica they like to have a good time and bring the energy, and he looks to do the same here with his matches every week. Domino takes his shirt off and throws it at Kingston to start, but Kingston quickly, trips him up and works his arm. Kingston's using his quickness to kind of keep Domino off balance. Kingston has a really nice high crossbody for 2. Continues to work the arm, and then he does his little his thing in the corner where he whips the guy in the corner, and then does the senton where he sits on them in the corner, punches away, and then does the backflip out of it. Domino reverses a whip, catches him on a head scissors attempt, and just slams him right to the mat with a flapjack. That looked really good. He does the double knees to the face like William Regal does. Kicks, stomps away, and as Kingston tries to battle back. Domino hooks a submission as Kingston fights to his feet, gets away with a jawbreaker. Domino though recovers first and hoists Kingston up for a backbreaker submission, which kind of looked really impressive. But Kingston uses the rope to kind of flip out of it. He starts to fire up, hits a jumping back elbow and Russian leg sweep. He does his little boom boom, which the crowd goes along with, and then he hits the double leg drop. But Domino reverses a whip and avoids a crossbody. Seems like he's going to take back control, but then all of a sudden Kingston hits the buzzsaw kick, which I will note this, both Joey and Taz now call it out, that is now called the Trouble in Paradise. So now it officially has the name, and that gets Kofi the win. 4:04 your match time. I'm going to start a quarter. It was fine stuff. Kingston continues to shine as he gets more momentum. Again, just kind of throwing Domino out there as the guy to put him over. As I said, the crowds, they're really now starting to get into Kofi. His pops are getting bigger. They're going along with the boom boom, and you can definitely tell they've got something. They're getting something here with Kofi, and they bring up the fact that he's still undefeated to this point.
I went a star and a half. The half point was that the fans were cheering Kofi through and through instead of just being quiet. They were getting behind every move that he did. Domino to me looked like a heavier Sean O'Hare, I thought. He didn't have the flips or anything, but he had the hairstyle a little bit. He looked like a little bit of a natural born Thriller. And I was wondering if they were trying to split the tag team up and give one of the Deuce and one of the brothers or one of the guys a singles push here, because oh, we have Domino? And it's well, that's weird. One of them's trying to be a single star here. And again, like you said, it's finally called the Trouble in Paradise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm surprised it took this long for them to finally give it that name. I thought they they called it that right off the bat. I think I've said that before, but and yeah, it was a bit weird. It's like, I feel like Deuce and Domino never really got a chance to really get themselves over, even though they were tag champions at one point. It seemed like, they had a, thing with them, but then it was just like, all right, I'm bored with them. Just, have them do something. So I don't know, like you said, if they were planning some like singles run for either guy, but, or this is just a way to get, Kofi a win over at least a name. But yeah, just more just getting Kofi over, and building up his cred.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we go backstage where we see Kelly and I think this is the first time we've seen her, at least on ECW, Eve Torres. They're backstage as Layla comes up to them and asks what they're doing. She says there's only room for one Diva Search winner, and that's her. So the newbie can beat it. But Kelly says that Eve's there to tell them something. But Layla says that she'll answer all her questions, which are, yes, they are real. Yes, she never dated him. And yes, she is the top diva on ECW. And if she ever sees her again, she'll be sorry as she walks away. As Eve is like, what did I never did anything to her. What's she acting like such like that? So, it seems like, again, we're, like I said, introducing a new face here in Eve. You already have we have the Diva Search kind of thing, thing there with Layla and her. So maybe setting up something there. And Layla just the fact that she flat out said they are real, just and who is he that he never dated? That's what I also want to know.
I do not. I don't know. This segment was very rushed. It was just to feature the divas who weren't on the show last week. Again, insert third female for Alina Yada this time. Replacement for Alina Yada here. I don't remember a lot of Eve Torres as in WWE. I gotta go back. I mean, I know she's married to the. No, wait, never mind. That's not Eve Torres. Okay, that's Maurice. My bad. Wow, I'm dumb. But Eve, what did she even do? Again, this is just to replace Lena Yada. And I was gonna say one more thing. Was Eve Torres the winner of the 07 Diva Search? They even have an 07 Diva Search?
They did, yeah, and she did win. That's why.
That's why.
Brought up why that she's the only true Diva Search winner, because she had won.
Yeah, I stopped watching after Layla won 06. I don't even remember the 07 one. I just remember Layla's, Ashley's, and Christy Hemmy's.
Yeah, well, that was on Raw for the most part, so we didn't get to see a lot of it. And like I said, I think this is the first time we've seen Eve here. So I have the 2007 Diva Search. Here's who was in it. Eve, who won. Brooke Gilbertstein, who was the runner-up. Lena Yada, actually, who was third place. Taryn Terrell, who we'll get to know her eventually down the line here, was fourth. Jessica Hatch fifth. Jay Kim sixth. Lindy Fearson seventh. Naomi Kirk eighth. And most of those girls don't have any wiki files, so that tells you all you need to know.
So okay, so Eve Torres might have been on Raw, and then they were like, let's put Lena Yada on ECW. It's like, well, she's green as grass. Next.
Yeah, I think Eve really we won't see much of. She doesn't really get going until later by the end of the decade. So, yeah. So, all right. Well,
moving on.
Yeah. We get a commercial. We then get a shot outside the Bank North Garden. We see highlights from the contract signing, and we get a big announcement that next week on ECW, the Brothers of Destruction are going to reunite. So the Undertaker, the World Heavyweight Champion, is going to be on ECW with Kane. So that's big news there to bring, one of the, to have one of the, most well-recognized teams come together on ECW.
Smell a Teddy Long tag team match coming. It's going to be Edge and Chavo Guerrero versus Kane and The Undertaker. Maybe.
Well, we'll find out next. We'll find out next time on our next episode. But let's wrap up this episode here with our main event, which is Colin Delaney versus Tommy Dreamer. Stipulations in play: if Delaney wins, he earns a contract, and if Dreamer loses and or goes easy on Delaney during the match, he'll be fired. Armando Estrada's at ringside just to ensure there's no shenanigans. Simple mat work here to start off here is Delaney's trying to prove he can hang with Dreamers. Dreamers, he's wrestling him, but as Taz mentions a couple times in commentary, he thinks that Dreamer really is going easy on him, even though his job's on the line. Dreamer hits an arm drag and slam, only to miss an elbow. Delaney tries to get a couple of pinfall attempts here until Dreamer hits a clothesline and hits a really big toss out of the corner. He charges at Delaney, who dumps him over the top to the floor. Then Delaney hits a slingshot plancha onto Dreamer, which looked really good. Throws him back into the ring as he hits a slingshot somersault senton for 2. Gets another roll up for 2, but then Dreamer blocks a shot and hits a pump handle suplex, which looked really nasty. Delaney sold that really well. He puts Delaney on the top rope, goes up himself, but Delaney shoves him to the mat, sets himself up and misses a missile drop kick as Dreamer whips into the corner. Delaney looks for another move, but then Dreamer shoves him off, puts him in the tree of woe, hits the baseball slide before hitting a really sick DDT, spiking Delaney head first into the mat to get the win. Keeps his job. Delaney doesn't get his contract, and Estrada is at ringside enjoying it and then kind of taunting both guys as Dreamer helps Delaney to his feet to close things out. So 4:38 your match time. I again went a star and a quarter. It was fine. Delaney kind of showing off some more offense here as he's kind of, getting more into like more competitive matches instead of just being squashed week after week. And Dreamer doing his thing, having to save his job at the expense of costing his friend a contract. So just some more like we said earlier, great character work between the two as Delaney still looks to get that elusive contract.
Yeah, I gave it also I gave it a star and a quarter as well. They were actually both 1 counts, I believe. I don't even think Delaney got a 2 count, but I like that because Tommy kicking out at once, like, it's going to take a lot more for you to get a pin over me if I'm not going easy. Tommy really showed tough love, but I did like that that somersault plancha by Colin on the outside, and then when he does like the somersault into the front flip as well to the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, Delaney showing off some more offense here, but still coming up a bit short. So that's going to do it for our 2 episodes here. Like I said, we got the for the next week, the 15th, of course, the Undertaker and Kane teaming up, and of course next week we will also be overseas because this will be during the time when they are doing their European tour. So we'll see how the crowd in I believe it's in England. We'll touch on that when we get there, how they'll react to some of this stuff here.
Yeah, and I also think I'll say it like this: keep an eye out, basically, because how it's like Extreme 3-0 dance, the stock rising, stock falling. Someone who you should keep an eye out is Shelton Benjamin and see where he's going to go on ECW now that Kane is champion too, because a lot of heels are trying to go for the title. You can always look out for Miz and Morrison as well. I'm not going to say like stock falling, but I guess like, are they on their way out? Is CM Punk on his way out to bigger and better things? I feel that Elijah Burke is on his way out because they're not giving him anything. He's away from he's at the bottom of the totem pole for the ECW title. And that's basically it. And then again, where are we going to go? This Colin Delaney. Where are we going to go with Colin Delaney, who has no contract yet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these play out as we continue our road now to Backlash. So, but that's going to do it for this episode here. So, Gruney, if you want to let everyone know where you could be found on social media and what other pods you got going on.
Well, you can find me on X or Twitter on at Gruney316, Gruney 316. As for what I do on recordings, mostly on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, I have this podcast and also Nation Invasion, which is my coverage of the invasion angle between the WWF and the WCW ECW alliance. We are almost done with this, with the angle here, as me and Jeremy Nichols, we just dropped our Monday Night Raw from 11/3/2001 and Thursday Night SmackDown from 11/6/2001. The Rock and Chris Jericho have their final rematch for the WCW title, and Mr. McMahon drops in an announcement that Stone Cold will be joining Team WWF at Survivor Series, so we'll have to see how that goes down. Wrapping things up as we get to the next Raw and SmackDown the week before Survivor Series, and then we'll see where everything goes as everyone's head over heels, and it's going to be a nail biter to see what's going to happen at Survivor Series. People are running scared in the Alliance and WWF, and can both teams get along? As it does seem that both teams are crumbling under the pressure of Survivor Series here. So we'll have to see how everything plays out on this last Raw and SmackDown before Survivor Series. And also on the Place to Be Nation Pop feed, I have a podcast called Pop Goes Degrassi, where me and John Kesalico, we look back at Degrassi Next Generation. We are on season 2, episode 11. Don't believe the hype. Hazel is embarrassed to reveal that she's Somalian, but after a Muslim faces racism, will she be able to hold her head up high and be proud of where she comes from? Also, JT sews a skirt for liberty, but is he going to be holding his head up high knowing that he is a sewer? So we'll have to see how those two storylines play out here. But that's basically what I do, and where you can find me, mostly on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, but also on the Pop feed as well. And also the Making Mount Rushmore episode, favorite Disney movies and Pixar movies, just came out. Steve, I was your guest and had a very good list, along with Miranda Berthold and Andy Atherton, who sent theirs by email proxy. So very good list from everybody on that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. As for me, I can typically be found on the Pop Experience with, as Grady said, Making Mount Rushmore. Also, the Video Jukebox Song of the Day, as well as Pop Goes to Classics. That's myself, Andy, and Miranda, where we're going through all the Disney animated films on a little bit of a hiatus right now, because I know Miranda is going to soon be preparing to come back to the United States after being in Europe for the for the last couple of years. So once she does, we'll try to get back on a more consistent schedule with that. And I will also just kind of tease it now. The return of Pop Goes the Couch this holiday season, where we're going to be, where me and several guests will be live watching some classic TV Christmas specials. So be on the lookout for that. Not going to say which ones and who's going to be on, so I'm just going to keep that as a little bit of a surprise. I can also be found occasionally over on the North-South Connection with Cronoso. Our last, I know we got our next episode coming up here where we talk some potpourri stuff from late November, early December. Me specifically, I touched on the match between the Texas Tornado and Mr. Perfect for the IC title from the November 28th MSG with Roddy Piper as the ref. So be on the lookout for that. And typically it can be found on the PTV Facebook group. We got a lot of great discussions over there. So please join to that as well. So yeah, I guess that will do it here for this episode of Extreme Resurrection. I'm Steve Riddle. He's James Gruenberg, and we will see you next time.